Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Today, thousands of Tasmanians headed to the polls to decide who will lead our state over the next term. Booths in all 5 electorates were in full swing as locals cast their vote in the unexpected 2021 election, called nearly a year early. Counters have also been busy with a record number of people voting before polling day. We begin our special election bulletin now with Kim Miller, who is in the tally room. Good evening, Kim. It's certainly been a lead up to tonight.
Good evening, Louise. It has been an intense 5 weeks of campaigning, and now we're getting close to finding out Tasmania's new government makeup. Tonight, in our extensive coverage, we have reporters across the state to take us through the day's developments. And later on, we will reveal our exclusive exit poll and keep you up to date with some of the early polling insights. But first, let's cross to our reporter, Sean McComish, who is also in the tally room. Good evening to you, Sean. Now, it's an exciting atmosphere here in the room already tonight, isn't it?
Well, Kim, it's like Christmas Day if you love politics, but there will be a lot of nerves and uncertainty in this room tonight. This was the election that nobody expected, and nobody quite knows what to expect tonight. At the start of the election, the Liberals were the favourite, but Labor has gained ground in the past couple of weeks. And of course, the Independents are growing increasingly confident about their chances of landing in Parliament. Voting early in an early election.
Good morning.
5 weeks of brutal campaigning over with a single slip of paper. Peter Gutwin confident his gamble to go to the polls early will pay off.
Tasmanians have a choice. They can choose a strong, stable, Liberal majority government with me in the Premier's chair, or they can vote for minority. If they vote for minority, then we will go backwards.
Still forced to defend candidate Adam Brooks, who's facing allegations of using a fake identity while dating a woman.
Mr Brooks, who I spoke with yesterday, has denied emphatically these allegations. Today, the people of Braddon will have their opportunity to have their say on the future of Mr Brooks.
At Sorrel, Rebecca White was joined by husband Rod and daughter Mia. The Labor leader believes the tide has turned after her campaign was sidelined by infighting.
Feeling really confident. There's no doubt that the momentum has been with Labor, particularly in the latter part of this campaign, and people are really responding to our message around addressing the health crisis.
Candidate Dean Winter, whose name sparked factional fury, was honest about his feelings.
Pretty nervous. It's a big day. A lot of people have put a lot in faith in me to run a good campaign and hopefully help deliver Labor a third seat in Franklin.
Cassie O'Connor's family arrived in force at West Hobart. They were front of mind for the Greens leader.
I am so hanging out for tomorrow afternoon when I can just really relax with my family. Yeah, I've missed them.
The party is looking to reverse the losses from 2018, but there's a challenge.
There's no question that the Independents are going to shave votes, I think, off all candidates who are running in Clark at this election. So what we've been saying is, if you want Greens in Parliament, you need to vote for us.
The Independents believe they could very well be on the way to Parliament.
I think today we're going to see a big difference in Clark, and I'm really excited for tonight's outcome.
Sue Hickey wandered through a church graveyard to cast her ballot. She's hoping to keep her political career alive.
I'm feeling more confident because so many people have been supportive, and it's just been a wonderful campaign. So far, touch wood, I am very hopeful.
We'll soon know who voters have blessed. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
And as we go to air, votes around the state are being compiled and counted. Our reporter Meg Sides is at a counting centre in Moona. Meg, what's happening where you are?
Well, Kim, polling booths, of course, closed just a few minutes ago, but now around the state, the Tasmanian Electoral Commission is very busy trying to make sure each and every one of those votes is counted. Some of that you can see starting to begin behind me. This is where the pre-poll and postal votes for Lyons and Derwent are currently being tallied. We have, of course, had record early voting this year. 105,000 Tasmanians decided to cast their votes early. That compares to around 55,000 Tasmanians in the 2018 state election, so a big jump there. As you can imagine, Kim, these workers are going to have a massive night tonight, but we were there throughout the day today as Tasmanians went to the polls.
Around the state, people lining up to cast their vote to decide who will form the next Tasmanian government, some still undecided.
I still don't know. I'm gonna wing it.
Undecided on some, but decided on a few others.
It sort of got sprung on us in a hurry. It was a bit of it just happened all of a sudden sort of thing. I wasn't expecting it.
After dropping their vote in the ballot box, many left to speculate on what the outcome will be.
I don't think it's going to be decisive, right? I hope that it would be because, it'd be nice to get a majority.
I think the Liberals will get in because of the COVID performance of last year, but I do believe it's a different sort of feel to the election this year.
I think we need a change and, I like that lady.
Others leaning towards independent candidates.
As long as they can get more independent seats in, happy days.
Got my fingers crossed for Christy Johnson. She does a lot of work within the Aboriginal community where I work.
What would you like to see come out of this election?
A bit of common sense.
Some voters making their democratic debut.
It was my first vote today.
So I became a citizen last year, so I'm very excited to vote here.
And of course, the highlight for many was the humble democracy sausage.
Thank you very much.
It's been pretty non-stop all day. We're a bit tired, but it's great.
With plenty of treats on the ticket.
Well, we had the Peter Gut wieners and the Casio coffee cake sold pretty quickly, and then there were lots of election balls, and being in Clark we had some Madeleines as well.
Not every polling booth upholding the tradition.
No democracy sausage, yes, always a disappointment.
And the trick to a good polling day snack?
I don't know, it's getting them always rolling.
But at the end of the day, many voters have been left feeling the same way.
Just hopefully whoever does win does the right job.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
The gut wiener, huh? Well, in a move unprecedented in Tasmania's history, today's state election was held alongside a vote for 2 upper house seats, that of Windermere and Derwent. Let's go live to our reporter Garth Burley, who's been tracking developments. Good evening to you, Garth. Now, how crucial are these upper house seats?
Good evening, Kim. Well, in the eyes of some of the candidates, they believe the vote for the upper house and lower house are equally as important. As many people would know, the upper house is responsible for passing legislation or rather reviewing legislation that is passed through the lower house. So it does hold quite an important role in the state. Now, the election was called earlier this year, and that was largely in part due to the retirement of outgoing Windermere candidate Ivan Dean, who joins me now. Firstly, Ivan, welcome to the show. 18 years in the top job. Firstly, what has been your biggest highlight?
Well, there have been many highlights, but I guess one of the biggest would be helping a single parent, mostly mothers, with 2 to 3 children get into a house of their own. And these people have been living in cars and living in a house with heaps of other people. So doing that has been an absolute highlight.
Now, back onto this election, you've spoken about the importance of independence in this election. Why do you believe that?
I think it's extremely important. If we have the House made up of party members, it becomes a rubber stamp. If it's government members in our House controlling it, if it's opposition controlling it, it becomes a brick wall. That's not what it's about. It's about reviewing legislation effectively and efficiently and making changes if that's necessary, and or at the end, if it's not suitable legislation, if the people don't like it and it's not wanted, then we have the opportunity of throwing it out. Party members don't have that capacity to do that.
It's set to be a pretty tight race. What is your opinion? How do you think it's all going to play out tonight and over the coming days?
I think it will come down to a party member here, and I think an independent member, I think on top of the list, and I think that we will see it probably coming down to preferences. I would hope it doesn't, because an independent member, and the candidate I'm supporting, has worked extremely hard in the electorate, and I would think that he will probably get up. The feedback in the community has been absolutely wonderful, it's been excellent, and I'm of that view that he will get up.
Well, thanks very much for your time and thanks very much for your service. Now let's take a look at some of those main contenders in those 2 divisions. Lining up to vote amongst the people that hold the key to their political future. For candidates, this is a moment months in the making.
Thank you.
How'd that feel?
Felt good.
Electorates across the state becoming the battleground for the Legislative Council elections. No stranger in front of camera, Nick Duigan is poised to see whether his leap of faith from television to politics will pay off in the seat of Windermere.
I think I've done
as much as I can do. I don't think I've left too many votes out there.
But he's not the only one who's been campaigning hard.
I reckon very close to 9,000 doors, so it's been busy.
Along with independent Will Smith, given glowing approval from outgoing member Ivan Dean.
I've been really appreciative of how well accepted I've been.
The upper house race entered as the opening act of Tasmania's political show, but was quickly relegated to the backdrop of the state election. Never before have both votes been held simultaneously, offering an undoubted advantage, critics say, to party-backed candidates over those independent.
There's challenges involved with it, and the major parties are aware of that, and they know that.
In Derwent, local mayor and Liberal contender Ben Shaw is tipped to threaten the position of incumbent Labor member Craig Farrell.
Very nervous. This is my first major political campaign.
You just don't know how things are going to turn out and whether you've got to go and find another job on Monday.
While in Mersey, popular MP Mike Gaffney walked back into his role unopposed. Experts say regardless of who's elected to the House of Review, none of the major parties will hold complete power.
The Legislative Council will remain dominated by the left, Labor and the left independents, no matter what happens.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmanian News.
Joining me at the desk now is University political analyst Professor Richard Herr with 7 Tasmania's exclusive exit poll. Good evening to you, Richard.
Good evening,
now,
Kim.
in these past exit polls have been very reliable. What is it this year? What have we found?
I think that it'll be the same as most years. It depends partly on the booths. It depends on how the booths reflect the electorate. But if we look at the results, Clark is as difficult to predict as we expected. You see that the Kirsty Johnson effect really does seem to be working. You can't see it from that graphic, but she has something close to a quote in her own right at this booth. We have to make it clear that this is only at the booth. It's a northern suburbs booth. But if that were repeated across the electorate, she would be taking up a seat in the Parliament. Sue Hickey has done well for an independent. She's got something on 5% or more of the results in this booth, but she will rely on preferences from elsewhere if she's going to retain her seat. And that might be difficult for her, with where the preferences are going to come from. The Greens, despite the strong showing of the independents in the northern suburbs, actually enjoyed a swing to the Green Party, which means if this is repeated throughout the electorate, Cassie O'Connor could well retain her seat.
Do you think Clark could only be 2 seats to the Liberals?
Well, that's the issue. For the Labor Party, the bulk of Kirsty Johnson's vote seems to have been snatched out of the Labor Party. And if they can't make it up elsewhere, they will be reduced for the first time in their history to only 1 seat in modern history, to 1 seat in Clark. So, and of course, if they pick it up, then the Liberals will be in trouble and may not be able to hold on to a 2nd seat.
Okay, Franklin?
Franklin doesn't seem to offer too many surprises from what we can tell from the exit poll. It looks like this is actually going to be the same 2-2-1 split that we've been expecting. So the exit poll doesn't tell us to look for any surprises in Franklin.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take a look at Lyons then. Again, should be fairly straightforward.
It looks like it's going to remain 3-2 in favour of the Liberals. There was a slight swing to the Greens, but it doesn't seem likely to take a seat off either major party. We'll have to see. Again, preferences do come into play, and this seat was at the southern end of Lyons, so we don't know what difference that might make, although we would expect that to be the greener end of Lyons, if you like.
Now, Bass and Braddon, Liberals are hoping to pick up those crucial 4th seats there. How are they looking through our exit polls?
Well, they would like to pick up a 4th seat in one or both if they can. Bass seems unlikely. The flow of preferences will be more a contest between the ALP and the Greens for holding on to the ALP 2nd seat. That only narrowly went to the ALP in 2018, and there is a slight swing to the Greens in that electorate. If it happens, this booth will be basically a knuckle biter for both the ALP and the Greens for that 5th seat.
And Braddon, just to wrap up.
Yeah, and Braddon is the one where the 4th seat is most on the cards, we would expect. But again, that was a repeat of the last time. So The Labor Party probably will again have that white knuckle ride for the rest of the evening, watching for it. At the moment, from the exit poll, it looked like they were going to hold, they had a reasonable chance of holding on to their 2 seats. But again, as it went in 2018, it's going to go down to the preferences to who gets up. And so that is the possibility of a lifeline if Clark goes pear-shaped for the Liberal Party.
It is a big night ahead, and certainly Clark seems to be the one that we'll be watching very closely. That's it for the tally room for now. It's back to you, Louise, in the studio.
All right, thanks for that, Kim and Richard and the team. Polling booths in the state's northwest have closed, with the two major parties fighting to wrangle another seat. Our reporter Elizabeth O'Neill is at Ulverston. Lizzie, what's happening there tonight?
Good evening, Louise. Thousands have cast their vote in the seat of Braddon, which has drawn much attention this election. The Labor Party faithful have gathered here in Ulverston as Anita Dow and Shane Broad look to retain their seats. Liberals Jeremy Rockcliffe, Roger Yench and Felix Ellis are also hoping to be re-elected. Mr Ellis joined Parliament last year after Joan Ryler resigned. But it's Liberal candidate Adam Brooks whose all eyes are on. He's hoping to make an almighty comeback to politics after leaving previously under a cloud of controversy, and his current campaign has been much the same. He's facing allegations over minor firearms offences, as well as allegations he created dating profiles under a false name. When he's previously run as a Liberal candidate, he's managed to secure more than one quota. It'll be interesting to hear tonight to see if he can do the same thing again, Lou.
It certainly will, Lizzie. Thank you very much for that. Turning to the day's other news now, and police say speed was a contributing factor in a fatal crash in Zeehan overnight. A white Toyota Land Cruiser collided with a brick wall on Main Street at around 12:30. The man behind the wheel, believed to be a local resident, died at the scene. A report will be prepared for the coroner. A blaze has caused $200,000 worth of damage to an East Devonport home. Police were called to the fire on Stephen Street just after midnight. 2 people were inside the home at the time of the blaze, with one suffering a minor injury to his hand. A neighbouring business was also damaged. Launceston have handed out another belting, beating Glenorchy by 148 points. The reigning premiers kicking 9 goals to none in the second quarter and showing again that they're a kick ahead of the rest.
Unbeaten and coming off a barnstorming 125-point win on Anzac Day, Launceston are the form team of the TSL. Today, they proved it again against Glenorchy, flying out of the gates. Leading by 32 points at the first change, they only extended their lead as the Pies suffered a scoreless second quarter. Dylan Riley kicked 10 goals last week and he bagged 9 more today.
He takes the mark, plays on, it's his second, easy as you like, Dylan Riley.
As the Blues went on to win by 148 points. Tigers entered this round second on the ladder and looking to show that they're the best of the rest. But they faced stiff opposition in Clarence, the Roos kicking away to lead by 28 points at half-time. Tigers rallied in the second half but couldn't close the deficit, losing by 18 points. Lauderdale and North Hobart both suffered maulings at the hands of Northern opposition last weekend. Today, North Hobart built a 24-point half-time lead, only to let it slip, ahead by only 2 at three-quarter time. But they rallied in the final quarter to take their first win of the season, winners by 18 points. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmanian News.
Devonport have prevailed in their Lackasellajack Cup quarter-final against South Hobart. 2 second-half goals saw the Strikers through, even as South scored a penalty to create a tight finish. South also lost in their Women's Statewide Cup quarter-final, Olympia Warriors winning 3-0. Back to Kim now in the tally room for a final update. Hello again, Kim. What more can you reveal from our exclusive exit poll?
Yeah, g'day Lou. Look, we do have a little bit more to reveal. I'm joined with Professor Richard Herr. Now, Richard, from a broader perspective and from our exit poll, what could that final makeup of the House be tonight?
Well, we know the Premier took a gamble on having a snap poll, and I have to say the roulette wheel is still spinning. The most probable number seems to be 13 from the exit poll, which is what they had from the 2018 election. But 12 or 14 are possible, and the wheel is still spinning for him there. What the roulette wheel suggests is that there isn't a number that's going to come up with a Labour majority, so that is an issue for Labour. They'll be concentrating perhaps, even though they don't want it, what will happen if there's a minority government that they're either in opposition or having to deal with a government that wants some possible crossbench support. The big question would be, is Christy Johnson going to take up her seat, and will the second high-profile candidate in Clark, Sue Hickey, actually work some sort of magic that gets her a seat as well? At the moment, the odds from the exit poll is strongly favouring, of course, Christy Johnson.
So anywhere 12, 13, 14, who knows? We are starting to get some of those
we'll know a bit later in the evening,
early results in. But Richard, our poll doesn't show individual personalities, some of those you've just mentioned. But let's start to take a look at how these candidates are going early on. Let's start with Bass, what we can see there.
Well, again, they won't give us personalities. It will show that the exit poll is close to what figures we were getting there. So, although it is the exit poll, I'm sorry, I thought that they were going to have Bass figures.
Yeah, if we've got some Bass figures, some of those early polling in, here we go.
Yeah.
No surprises there at the top?
No, nothing that's going to show us the change. What does show up is that Janie Finlay is polling well, and that spells trouble, of course, for Jennifer Houston. We're looking at those figures. Of course, Michelle O'Byrne is expecting, although it's interesting that she at this stage, very early stage, is polling behind, of course, Janie Finlay.
I must say, only less than 1.5%.
Yeah,
counted
that's right.
there.
I mean, no, we're really just helping to set the scene for personalities to watch.
Yep.
So
let's have a look at Braddon. Some of those individual results.
Yep.
Coming in 1.95% counted.
Yes. Again, here we've got no one particularly that we're. I think Felix Ellis will feel a bit of Brooksy is behind him, so he may feel a little more comfortable in these figures. We'll see how they go with the rest of the night. That's certainly something they have to watch.
Definitely. And we have Time Lions, just very quickly.
Well, Lions is where we're not really expecting any real change. And no, I wouldn't even. It's not
Guy
worth
Barnett, Rebecca White. Back to you, Lou.
Good evening, everyone. Hobart, the state's top today with 23 degrees, Launceston a top of 22, Devonport 18 and 17 in Burnie. Strahan also reaching that top of 23 degrees today, Grove and Friendly Beach is 22, 21 on the islands, St Helens 20 degrees, Low Head 18 and 17 in Lyowini. Patchy cloud can be seen across the west of the state today with clear skies over most of the east. Further out, broad areas of cloud covered the west of Victoria, while a frontal band extends from the south of southern Western Australia across the Southern Ocean. Much of the north and west of the country remain cloud-free. Tomorrow's chart shows the low moving slightly east. The high remains in the Tasman Sea, extending a ridge over the eastern states, while another high is building over the Bight. Winds north to northwesterly tomorrow 10 to 20 knots, easing to 5 to 15 knots during the evening. Partly cloudy in the south tomorrow with Hobart reaching 21, 23 in Richmond and Ouse. Morning fog and 22 in Launceston, Devonport 19 with a late shower or two, 19 in Deloraine. Burnie and Curry 19 degrees tomorrow, late showers and 20 in Strahan. And partly cloudy across the east with St Helens, Swansea and Whitemark all reaching a top of 21. On Monday, showers across the state, easing in the evening. Possible morning showers in the north on Tuesday, otherwise fine. And on Wednesday, morning fog and frost turning into a fine day. 23 in Perth tomorrow, mostly sunny in Adelaide, possible storms and 25 in Melbourne, and a shower or two in Brisbane and Cairns. And there's currently cloud right across the state tonight, with Hobart 17 degrees, 14 in Launceston and just 13 in Devonport. And that's all in weather tonight, Lou.
All right, thank you for that, Chelsea. And that's all your news for now for this Saturday evening. Kim, Richard and, of course, our team of reporters will have special coverage of the election throughout the evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night.